are, people. Another episode of If Be You a Podcast. Season 5 is progressing along, and as we progress, the weather is getting nicer and nicer here in the East Coast of North America. Bring it on, spring, you can smell it. And today I have Avery Friedman coming in from Brooklyn, and she just is about to put out her first record called New Thing. And I just got the privilege of having her come on, and we're going to talk all about New Thing, but also about her music and how it started and all those fun things. Avery, thank you for accepting this invite. I am so happy to have you join and share an episode with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm touched to be asked. I appreciate it.
Well, you need some well-deserved attention because you got 2 singles out so far off of this record. Coming out April, people, April 2025. So keep it on your radar. But there's a couple of singles out already, Flower Fell and also Phone Booth, which are 2 great songs. But I was able, through Avery's guy, to get the record, and I got to listen to it. And it's well worth the wait. And you'll definitely want to get this one when it comes out. So Avery, I always love to start off just a little bit about you, where it all started, and like when did music start to become something of interest to you when in your formative years?
Yeah. I always was super drawn to music. I think growing up I grew up in Ohio, and I think we had to be in choir when we were young in like fourth
Right.
grade, and I really, really loved it. And I remember like I have a specific formative memory of we had to sing Carol of the Bells, that
Mm,
Christmas song,
right.
and we just I think had 2 parts, like alto and soprano. I think even like the little boys were either altos or sopranos too, because their voices are so high. But and everyone, like, nobody wanted to be an alto because it's not the part of the song that you recognize, but
Okay. Right.
it's not the like da 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 da. Um, but I was an alto and I really loved it. Like I realized I really like love harmony, and I love just the sort of bodily feeling of
Mm,
singing with people, and yeah, specifically harmony I've always been super drawn to. And
right.
I remember like the first music I really loved, I felt like made me feel how being in choir always made me feel.
Mm, mm.
Um but yeah,
Choir is such a great thing, though, because as a kid, like if you're interested in music, I mean, you're not going to start a band at like 8,
no.
9, 10, right?
Yeah.
Like choir, like I've spoken to many musicians that that's their origin story, is
Yeah.
singing together in a choir, which
It's
is very, very
beautiful.
typical for
Yeah.
for musicians.
Yeah, when I think about it, it offers a because a big reason I didn't dive into music, like writing and performing myself for so long. One was because I was extremely anxious about performing. I was
Hmm,
not excited about that. But also because I was a big soccer player
hmm.
in
Okay.
high school
Right.
and prior. But I think that just felt like the kind of thing that in where I grew up, when your parents want you to work hard at something and like learn skills, they put you
Yep.
in the sport. But when I
Yep.
think about choir, I feel like a lot of the same lessons that, you learn in the
Interesting.
sports team, like teamwork, listening to, like, paying attention to each other, just figuring out how like parts fit together
Hmm.
and working on something towards a common goal. Like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
choir offers a lot of that. But anyway,
Sure does. Sure does. Excellent.
yeah, yeah.
And what were the first things, Avery, that like in those years that you were listening to? Like,
Mm,
did you were singing in the choir, but I'm sure you were inspired also by musicians that you listened to on the radio or on,
yeah.
whatever medium you had. What were some of those early kind of like sparks that started when you heard certain musicians' bands play?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up and my mom listened basically only to country, and my dad
Hmm.
listened to classic rock. But
Okay.
so I didn't really realize other music exists beyond those 2 things and pop
Right.
music on the radio. But I remember, I think it was 2011, my freshman year of high school, maybe, I heard this song called Towers by Bon Iver from the
Mm,
self-titled
right.
Bon Iver record. And it just has like a beautiful guitar hook, but then and
Hmm.
he's singing in his like classic falsetto, and it's like so full and so lush, and he always has a lot of vocal harmony in his songs.
Right.
And I just remember being like, whoa, what is this? So
Mm,
that's
mm,
like the first song I remember really like falling in love with.
right. Right. Did you have thoughts of, hey, like imagining maybe I could do this one day? Like, had those seeds started to blossom inside you a bit?
I mean, it's so crazy. Like, I did not even start thinking about that till a few years ago.
Oh.
I sang in choir. I did learn to play guitar in high school, like vaguely when
Hmm.
I tore my ACL playing soccer and I couldn't
Mm.
play for like a year. And so I
Okay.
learned, I took a few guitar lessons, but I actually quit because my teacher tried to make me sing. And I was
Ha.
I was really petrified of
Hmm.
singing in front of people. Like I couldn't try out for a solo for a really long time in choir.
Hmm.
You know,
That's just anxiety, just feeling of like
yeah,
the
it felt
nerves.
so like raw and exposed. And I think because
Hmm.
music always made me feel so much, I think being
Right.
witnessed like within that feeling was really scary for me. You know, I
Hmm.
was a goalie in soccer, so it's like it's not like I was totally averse to being in the spotlight in some
Right.
way, but
Right.
I was really, really scared. So I did not consider that a possibility at all. But I just,
Well.
what happened was I just became like a huge fan. So I
Hmm.
incessantly listened to these songs. I went to a bunch of shows. I in college I became a music writer. I went to the University of
Hmm.
Michigan and I wrote like music reviews and reviews of concerts and
Fun.
the part of the organization on campus that brought concerts to school. And so I just really like immersed myself in the music world, but just
Hmm.
never, learned to play songs that I loved on guitar, but I never thought that I would be performing
Right.
myself
Right.
or writing. Yeah.
And what did you like so much about that aspect in college when you were writing reviews and concert reviews and stuff like I used to do that too in
Oh, cool.
university. I loved it. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. What did it bring you? Like what was the
Yeah.
satisfaction in it for you?
I mean, it's funny, you can probably relate too, because, I've also hosted a few podcasts and like
Right.
love to talk to musicians but I was always trying to, well, I think when I got to review things that I loved, I really liked to sort of understand what about it I liked and try to put to
Mm.
words like a descript to describe what was so beautiful about it or what specifically for me like made me feel things. So I like to listen really closely and sort of like pick apart parts
Mm.
of the production or like reviewing concerts. I like to analyze aspect of performance that was
Mm.
really,
Fun.
really was really cool. I mean, it's funny. It's like a common, I think like, yeah, it's so much more comfortable for me to like be really moved by something when I feel like
Mm.
I really understand what's going on,
Right.
if
Right.
that makes sense. And also
Yeah,
just
for
was a
sure.
way to be around it too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's funny though you say that too, because I've had the same experiences. Like,
really,
how do
yeah,
you put emotions into words, that are effective, that grab at that, like the
yeah,
guts of it or the crux of what that song or record or show is? It's
yeah,
really not an easy task. I mean, remember, like, this is all prior, AI, where you could
yeah,
just like write me a text on this. Like, you have to think about the details and like
yeah.
what is this feeling that I'm feeling when I hear these or that line or the
Mhm.
transition or the voice or
Yeah.
it's not an easy task.
Not at all. And I was an English literature major in college, and so there was
Mm.
a lot of like close reading and
Right.
paying really, dissecting sort of sentences and
Mm.
imagery and all this stuff. And, I remember like even taking English classes in high school, just being like, could the author really have been like thinking about all this when they wrote this? Like just being like, do you think we're kind of like prescribing a bit onto this?
Mm.
But I just found so much value from like paying very close attention and like
Right.
thinking about, yeah, the effect that choices in art have, whether, oh, and I think sometimes probably artists when they create and listeners when they consume music, like it's probably not all intentional. Probably they aren't.
Mm.
I know from experience, like it's not like I'm going to put this one note here to make someone get a goosebump,
Right.
Or it's like when I'm listening to something, it may not be specifically because of that lyric or something, but it does feel cool and valuable just to, it feels like an act of, not like devotion kind of, but an
Mm.
act of like honoring something to pay really close attention to it, which is
Right.
sort of what that felt like to me.
Well, which I think would serve you tremendously well when it came to starting to write your own stuff. Um,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about how that started? Because I know
Mhm.
that I read your press release and that you only started performing in 2024, the summer of 2024, like not even a
Yeah.
year ago. Is that correct?
I think potentially it was summer of 2023 that could have been
Okay.
a miss. But yeah, my first show was July 2023. So
Okay.
almost 2 years ago was my
Well,
first show. It was like a backyard show.
yeah.
Um yeah, I was looking on your blog. I saw that you have talked to Hemlock, Carolina.
Yes. Amazing.
Yes. Yeah, she's awesome. But Carolina was looking for a place to have a house show for their friend in New York, and I played on that show.
Hmm,
It was my
cool.
first show, and I was freaking out. But oh yeah, sorry. What was your
That's great.
question?
Well, like how you got into it. So, like, I guess I'll nail down a little bit more. What's your songwriting process like? Like, how do you go about
Yeah.
getting an idea and
Mhm.
then actually creating the structure around it, the song?
Yeah.
Do you have a process that you tend to follow?
Well, when I first decided, like a few things in my life happened that made me be like, I need to start writing songs. Like I need to at least try, or else I'm gonna regret it. Like I'm
Right.
going to have extreme regrets. So for a
Mm,
while, it was a very conscious choice where I was like, okay, maybe for the first, I literally remember the first time in my life that I played a chord progression and tried to hum
mm,
something over it. Like I was like, how have I waited 26 years to do this? Like, what
right.
the hell?
Mm,
Like crazy. It felt like a true blockage.
yeah, yeah.
But then once I sort of, and I took some classes and I made a sort of practice out of it, but then it became this thing where I think that my favorite songs I've written, I've sort of had like some sort of anxious feeling, some type
Mm,
of like, or I'm having some big feeling that when I have like a big feeling that I get overwhelmed and I can't quite understand it, or I don't really know
mm,
what's going on, or like
mm,
I just feel vaguely overwhelmed. I get like meta overwhelmed because I'm like, why can't I understand what's happening?
mm,
But my some of my favorite songs on this record, because these are my first songs are ones that like I would be hit with a sort of negative feeling and just
mm,
sit down and usually on the guitar first I would find like a chord progression that I liked and a way of playing it that felt expressive of what I was presently feeling and
mm.
would either have like one phrase like a
Okay.
lyric that I would start singing melodies
Hmm.
over.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's usually a chord progression first and then a sort of like back and forth of maybe I have like one stanza or one,
Right.
of
Right.
lyric and then work out the melody or vice versa. Yeah, but it's
Okay.
really often guitar first for me.
Right. And then kind of singing or making a noise with your voice over top to kind of see if you could
Yeah.
weave a melody in there.
Exactly. And like maybe I'll
Interesting.
have like one line that I know kind of feels representative of what's going
Okay.
on and I'll sort of like repeat that or
Right.
yeah, and it'll be a sort of like back and forth of like evolving the melody and what I'm singing and sort of like plugging in lyrics to that because it's funny sometimes I'll hit a wall and be like, I'll write a verse and be like, okay, I want it to sound slightly different for the second verse, but I can't
Mm,
even like unlock that part
mm.
until I have written it. Like,
Okay.
because it's like, I'll want it to be reflective of the lyrics and like where the
Mm,
story of the song is going.
right. Right.
Yeah, so it becomes a sort of back and forth, I think, after that. Yeah.
Right. Right. And when do you know you're onto something? Like,
Oh,
when do you know a series of chords together, the humming over top where it's like,
mm,
okay, I'm going to keep working on this because I really feel it has legs to it,
yeah.
as opposed to one that would be just like, I'm going to shelve that because I
Yeah.
just don't know where I'm going with it right now. Like,
Yeah.
how do you know that feeling?
That's a great question. And I think it kind of relates to, I feel like what coincidentally we were talking about with music writing and
Right.
understanding how things come together. I think the act of actually creating music is like the one area of my life where I think, or not one area, like a place where I believe that like, and just to trust my feeling, where it's like if I like this and if I want like if it's stuck in my head or like I write something, then I want to keep playing it, or if the chord progression like yeah, just if it makes me want to keep going, basically.
Right. Right.
And which is cool because I think that I can be a bit like logic brained a bit of,
Right.
or have problems sort of seeing something through unless seems like it makes complete sense. But knowing that what makes good art isn't necessarily like logical consistency,
Right.
but it's just the sensation of like wanting more,
Yeah,
honestly,
absolutely.
or feeling like you want to return to something. But it's also been cool because stuff that I maybe shelve and I view it as sort of like a bank, like
Right.
the first song I ever wrote, like it didn't go anywhere. Um, but all the other ones I wrote after are on this record. But I recently, like a few weeks ago, was like, I liked that whole chord progression. Like, I
Mm.
wonder if I could just repurpose that basically and write a
Right.
whole new song, different melody, different lyrics. And I wrote a song that I really love from
Right.
the chord progressions of the first song I ever wrote. So it's also cool to trust that even if it's not immediately put to use in a song that I'm obsessed with, that it
Right.
still has been unearthed and like maybe I can like pluck it in somewhere else in the future.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
was talking actually with Califoon yesterday and with
Cool.
Tim, and he said similar thing to yours, but he will go after any kind of like field recording, like,
Yeah.
recording, like he was talking about recording air conditioner sound, just the
Uh,
hum, and
mhm.
then tuning his guitar to that hum and then writing a song about it,
That's
or
amazing. That's because it's like a drone.
yeah, absolutely.
Really
I just thought
cool.
that was so brilliant, but it made me, it reminded me when you said that you find that inspiration, and you
Yeah,
gather them. Like musicians are like gatherers of stuff because you
totally.
never know, right? I want to go back into that shelf and pull that out. I think it will fit great here. So
Yeah, yeah. I used to
having that
want to be,
library, yeah,
yeah, I used to want to be a journalist, and I think like it's cool to, and I've always like kind of kept a journal, and it's
right.
cool to think about. Yeah, now my like voice memo app, never used it until 2 years ago, and now it's like insane in there with like, yeah, sound of a stream, sound of footsteps on the street, sound
Right.
of like, fireflies. So yeah, I really relate to that. It's
Yeah,
really
those are
cool.
sometimes really happy accidents happen, right? And you're like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
shelve that one.
Yeah.
What was the first song on this record that you wrote? Is it on the record? The first song you ever wrote? Does
Um,
it appear on New Time, on New Thing? Sorry.
it does not. It was the
Okay.
song called Bricks. It did not appear on it, but like I think Nervous was like the second
Right.
song I ever wrote,
Right.
which is the last song in the record, and yeah, New Thing was
Excellent.
shortly after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another question I have:
Mhm.
anxiety, stress.
Yeah,
It destabilizes us, right?
definitely.
How did you combat that to get a guitar, stand in front of people, and reveal yourself? Like
Oh, it feels, yeah.
it's totally your raw, right? It's there. There's nowhere to hide.
Hmm.
How did you get to that? Like, what did you have to do to in your brain to be able to accomplish that? Because it's a huge accomplishment. Most people would
Thank
never,
you.
never.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so many people do it, so it's hard I really do appreciate that because it was a feat.
yeah.
That
Oh, for
year felt
sure.
like such an excavation for
Mm,
me in a lot of ways, but I
mm,
mean, first and foremost, like I was extremely supported, but it by friends and the person I was dating at the time, and like
mm.
I was super, super supported, and I'm so grateful for that. But I was so anxious that I was like convinced that they were lying. Like not in a real way, but I was like, they probably just want me to like do my little dream, even like,
Right.
we're gonna let her do this cute thing. I even
They
had
don't really like any of it. They're just
literally,
like
yeah, they're just trying to
pulling the
appease
blind
me.
over my
Yeah.
eyes. And yeah, sure.
Um, so yeah, I was super supported and encouraged.
Mm,
I also have this like little post-it before my first show. My one friend was like, because I'm trying things and winning. Like I literally had to resort to like insane like grounding things of like
right.
putting note things on my mirror just to like take
Yep.
myself down from irrational thoughts. Because like in my head,
Yep.
I know that like it's a beautiful thing to try. Anyone who's ever tried something, like I've never been like that person is lame.
Mm,
I've been like that's
mm,
so cool.
mm, mm.
So it was a lot of support, a lot of like just having to like combat these anxious thoughts with like what I actually believe, which is that this is worth it, that there's nothing to be embarrassed of, that it's like inspirational, like that
Yeah.
for other people, and
Cool.
um that nothing bad was gonna happen to me. That just like worst
Right.
case I flop and like I become more resilient and like or worst
Right.
case I'm just yeah. Um
It's skill that you're developing, right?
yeah, it felt like a
were
muscle.
determined. I have to do this.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it.
exposure therapy. And I also
Right.
really trusted like the fact that it was so petrifying to me, but I wanted to do it anyway, like that it was
Hmm.
worth it. Like more than I was scared of like getting rejected or feeling stupid for like performing and it not
Hmm.
landing was like I was scared that I would never try this because I just knew that I would always regret it. Like
Right.
I didn't want to regret not trying it.
Amazing. Amazing. I am
Yeah.
so happy that you took that step because
Thank
we get
you.
to benefit from what you create now,
Oh,
which is
that's sweet. I'm so kind of like you're just saying that.
I'm not saying that.
I
I've
trust you.
probably listened to your record about 30 times and I'm not
You're
exaggerating.
kidding. That's
No.
crazy.
And I find that this record, listening to the whole thing has to happen. Like
Really?
pulling one song out is just like, why? Let's just listen the whole thing over again. Because I find it flows so beautifully
Mm.
as a piece in itself. I love how you sequence things,
Ah,
your songs. Because one
thank you.
flows into the next and forms the next. It's just like
Mm.
this natural progression that happens. Um, when did you get to the point? I have enough songs. I want to put a record out. Like, how did you come to accomplishing this huge feat of putting out a record?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment on the sequencing, because in some ways, I feel like there's a lot of different type of vibes on this
Yep,
record, and so I was a little worried that maybe it wouldn't be cohesive, but I think that there's enough through lines that it makes
for
sense.
sure,
So
for
I
sure.
appreciate that.
Mm,
But I don't even remember the exact moment. Like I just started recording with my friend James, who produced this, who plays lead guitar and other instruments on this record.
mm,
And he's kindly was just like, I want to help you record. And I think, eventually we just realized like we never explicitly were like, this is going to be an EP or this is going to be a record. Eventually
mm,
just realized we even cut a song. Like so we realized we had enough songs and we're just going to go out with a record, which I guess is like not super common. I think a lot of people will release EPs or singles,
sure,
shorter
sure.
form, collections before this, but I don't know, suddenly I
Mm,
just had a record's worth of stuff and then we were signed up to be to finish it. So,
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And what were some of the great lessons that you learned as in this process? Because you were involved in every step of the way. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, to so even like in the room, like with this amazing mastering engineer, Josh Bonatti, who's done like
Hmm.
a lot of huge artists stuff. But yeah, I mean, lots of big lessons. I think the biggest one is just that like I don't know, I really, really struggled to trust that this is worth people's time. I was like
Mm.
so like, oh my God, like
Wow.
this is like such a gift to me that anybody
Mm,
would want to give me their time and energy to like work
wow.
on this. And so I think honest and I had
Mm,
to combat a lot of sort of just insecurity and anxiety that I
sure.
didn't feel in other areas of my life just because this
Okay.
felt so new, so vulnerable. I think it's like really rare as adults to try something really, really new that's very scary.
Mm, yeah.
So it's something
Yeah.
I feel like we do more as kids, but I think I learned to sort of trust like the process of creativity of like even times when I would leave recording and just be like, ooh, I feel like I couldn't articulate myself. I feel like
Mm.
that was like I wasted 5 of James's hours, like, just having these kind of negative thoughts, like he
Mm,
would send me a mix from the day and then I'd be like, "Oh my God, like that's not so bad." And like he would keep showing up with enthusiasm and we
mhm,
met each other with a certain momentum in a way that felt like
mm.
such a gift. But I
That's great.
guess I guess the lesson is mostly just like not panicking or quitting after an imperfect time because it all felt
Yeah.
so new and so magical to me that sometimes if it didn't if it was a harder day, I would question my whole thing,
Sure.
basically.
Right. Right.
So I think it
Should
was
I keep doing this or
exactly, and it
like,
turns out
yeah.
those are all just like
Love it.
lessons you have to learn. Like,
Mm,
couldn't for photo booth even, like we couldn't crack that song for so long. One day we just decided let's pretty much remove my guitar playing from this entirely and
mm,
just fuck around on a synth and see
right.
what happens. And then the song came to life. So it's yeah,
Amazing.
just trusting that those things like you can't avoid the stickier moments and that the people who you're meant to collaborate with will stay in there with you. And so I'm very
Right.
grateful for that.
That's amazing. What a journey to go through as well. Like, because I mean, I'm
No
sure every
idea.
musician when they're first doing this is questioning, and
Yeah, surely.
insecure, and I don't know about this. And
Yeah.
so, if you were to look back a little bit, rewind time, you've put out two singles. How do you feel people have reacted to what you've put out so far?
I mean, I think well, like I feel like it's one of those things. It's hard to explain. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's like even talking about this, I think it's probably evident to you that this is a huge deal for me to just have
Hmm.
accomplished this just
For
for
sure.
myself. And
It's
um
massive. It's massive. Like,
thank you.
particularly if you're if it was never on your radar till like 2 years ago, and then it's
No,
like, here it
it's
is.
there.
I'm
Yeah.
releasing a record in a month. Like,
Yeah. So
amazing.
it's
So cool.
simultaneously a huge feat for me to
Right.
have done this.
Mm.
But also it's also the most natural thing in the world to me. Like it's the thing I know I will never tire of. So I feel like with that, it's I have a hard time even clocking that like this is a big deal,
Right.
for me.
Totally. Totally.
And even just that someone wants to talk to me about my music, like
Mm.
that is something that I could have never imagined a year ago. And so I think they've been received really well. And I think it's also like in my brain, it's so much of like, I can't even believe that I did this. But I think other people, they're just like, oh my God, yeah, you released a song that I love. And so it's almost like the fact that it's inherently legitimate in their brain,
Right.
in their
Right.
perception, or people that I've met later in the past year, like
Mm.
who know me just as a musician.
Amazing.
Like someone recently was like, oh yeah, like you're a singer. And I was like, well, yeah, I also like have a job, you know? So to even adopt the identity, like it's cool to me that it makes sense to other people that like this is my trajectory. So
Totally.
grateful
Totally.
for that. Yeah.
So good, Avery. I love your words. Like, and this
Really,
journey that you're on. I think that like starting musicians listening to this conversation are going to be like, I can fucking do this. I can
I
do
hope
this.
so. I really
You know,
hope that
like,
that is the
I'm scared
something
as
that I pass
hell and
on.
I'm anxious. My got sweaty palms. I'm like sweating all the
Not
time, but
sleeping, like yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Um, so the release is coming up.
Hmm.
What is the anticipation towards the release, and then what does the rest of the year hold with this record and you and shows and
Yeah.
like where are you going with this in 2025 with this new launch of new thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about like it's cool releasing singles. It allows so much attention to be on one song, but I'm
Mhm.
really like excited to see how people respond to other songs on this record. Like I think
Right.
there's a wide range and I'm just looking
Hmm.
forward to seeing what resonates with people and I'm like I hope people listen to the whole thing. I've been thinking of ways that I could like honor talking about, we talked about in the beginning each
Right.
song in this, like maybe write a little something about each and publish it somewhere.
Mm.
I don't know. So I'm really excited for it to come out for people to hear the full range. And then I'm doing an album release show in May, and May
Great.
15th at Union Pool. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
And then rest of the year TBD. I hope like a dream would be to
Okay.
go on a small tour.
Right.
Um, haven't sorted any of that yet. And then I would love to, start recording again.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Does the songwriting continue anyway? Like, can you?
Songwriting continues on 100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've
So
got
things are
some good guys.
percolating.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you are getting ready for this launch and stuff because I mean, like we said, it's a huge accomplishment,
Yeah.
deserves to be recognized and celebrated.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
the idea of the machine's going to keep rolling. Like,
Yeah.
that,
I hope to keep rolling. That's the biggest gift is that I think that this is something that I will never like put back away for
right?
long. Yeah.
Amazing, good, good. Well, I really appreciate you taking some time and
Yeah, thank
I
you.
really enjoyed your stories of your
Oh,
journey so far, and I
thanks
am
so much.
so excited for you for April. It's a full record, like so
Full
listeners like
record.
get the
Oh,
whole thing. One bleeds into the next. It's just a
thank you.
complete, really solid outing. Um, if you can get a show in, go see her. Support
Thank you.
Avery as much as you can. Is this coming out on vinyl, or are you just doing digital for now?
It is coming out on vinyl and tape.
Nice.
Yeah. So vinyl will be a few months after.
Sure, sure.
So yeah.
We'll have to get our hands on one of those, that's for sure.
Oh, sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed this interview. I feel like you're a very present and thoughtful interviewer, so I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that. This has been a lot of fun. All the best with the new record. People
Thank
coming out
you.
in April, new thing. Avery Friedman, amazing. All the best. And I hope that you come back once those songs that are percolating are set to
Yeah,
be released again.
I surely will. I
Amazing.
promise.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.